Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Sabrina Sense Podcast, where I bring common sense to the world of work. Today, I wanted to dive into strategic communication and how to communicate effectively with your audience in the year 2024. Whether you're in need of a little guidance personally or professionally, this conversation will change how you look at every interaction that you make. Today, I'll be sharing insight into what we need to do to better communicate, whether that's internally or externally. Let's get started, shall we? So, according to recent findings and statistics, when asked how poor internal collaboration experiences has impacted business, 49% of the respondents found that poor communication has negatively impacted their customer experience. 40% of those respondents say that it has reduced employee productivity, and 38% have reported that ineffective internal collaboration and communication has costed their business. This new data serves as a wake-up call for organizations to reevaluate their collaboration strategies and invest in resources that will strengthen internal teamwork and communication. One of the key issues with communication for any company is segmentation. And what segmentation is, guys, is when the leadership team or a department within the company only keeps that information to that company and that team and doesn't share it with anybody else. And so what happens is a general disconnect. Certain people get the information, others don't, and so they're left to either guess or assume what to do next. So that is one of the biggest complaints this year with strategic communication, or lack thereof, I should say. Now, you may be asking, what exactly is strategic communication? Strategic communication is a planned and intentional way of sharing messages with specific groups to achieve particular goals. It's an important tool for organizations in today's fast-paced, information-filled world, especially today. Managing reputation, building trust, navigating complex digital landscapes, all of these are all elements that are crucial for success. Strategic communication involves carefully creating messages, choosing the right ways to share those messages, and then timing when to share those messages effectively. So that when you are sharing these messages, it's shaping public opinion, it's involving stakeholders, and you're ultimately reaching organizational goals. So it can be used for promoting a new product, dealing with a crisis, or even advocating for policy changes. So, how many of you have heard of the phrase, it's not what you say, but it's how you say it? Pretty much everybody, right? Do you remember who told you that? Yeah, I don't really remember that either. Tell them they lied. Tell them they lied. Repeat after me. What you say is just as important as how you say it. One more time. What you say is just as important as how you say it. And that's called strategic communication. Strategic communication is probably the very thing that you've been needing this entire time to help you to get what you need out of life and out of your professional career. Most people stop pursuing their bigger goals simply because they're not getting it. But what they don't realize is that there's some sort of resistance in the way they communicate, which is preventing them from achieving their goals. Have you ever been in a situation where no matter how much you talk, no matter how much you explain, your viewpoint is it's just not getting across to the other person? They're just not getting it. I think that we've all experienced that frustration. And whether it's with a friend, a family member, a spouse, a boss, that part doesn't really matter. I mean, you're still being misunderstood. So today I'd like to give you a few tools and strategies to communicate through those issues and overcome the resistance that you're feeling. I'll start by taking you through two real situations, one personal, one professional. So a few years ago, okay, maybe a little bit more than a few years ago, I began a career in sales development and customer experience. I consider this when I started my journey through really truly understanding how I was communicating with others and how they perceived what I was saying. And something just always seemed to be off. So I would go home, I would start looking for ways to improve, how I could communicate more effectively, what my body language was when I would speak. And then I would take a look at myself in the mirror and practice what I wanted to say and how I wanted to be seen as I said it. In the past role, when I first started, I would handle tasks like email marketing, partnerships. I was in charge of connecting with different companies and people and partnering with them to offer the different programs that we had within the company. And along with that, I was also in charge of writing scripts for our customer experience and sales teams. So effective communication, strategic communication was such a huge important thing for me to get right. So on my first day, my boss asks me, "So Sabrina, I need you to reach out to Amazon and secure a partnership with them for the upcoming fundraiser that we have." Yeah, no big deal. It's just day one and you're asking me to connect with, one of the biggest companies ever aside from Google. No, it's fine. Yeah, that's my goal. So, anyways, I did. I took the challenge head on. I crafted an email that aligned with both Amazon's mission and our company's goals. And I need to shift to my personal life for a second. I received a message from my best friend Jill. She was looking for advice on how to communicate with a guy that she just swiped left on or swiped right on, however you want to say that. They connected via dating app and she really liked the guy, but she hadn't been able to get in touch with him for a couple of days. She wanted him to be her boyfriend based on like two conversations that they had and his picture on the app. I questioned her about what she knew about him and why she thought that, she was so special amongst all of the other people that had swiped right and engaged with them on this platform. And she tells me about how she thinks their goals for being successful in the healthcare industry really aligned. And there wasn't anybody else that she felt so connected to. And so here's what I told her to do. I said, send a private message, have a conversation like you normally would. Just let him express his values and interest, and then express yours. See if you both align. After that, maybe go out for a drink. I think that's a pretty good start. So moving back to my professional life, I go back to work the next day and my boss says, Sabrina, remember how I told you to reach out to Amazon about that partnership? Um, yeah, that was less than 12 hours ago. Well, they actually emailed us back that morning and they want to partner on the event. At that moment, I realized, well, for one, I realized I needed a raise. Um, but I also realized that I use the same method to communicate in two very different scenarios. And I'm going to share what that method is with you. So let's take a step back for a second. What does strategic communication really mean? How many of you have taken a strategic communications class or course online? So, what you probably learned from that strategic communications class is that communicating the best message through the right channels, measured against well considered organizational communication goals. That's the purpose. But through my two scenarios, what you can see is that strategic communication is simply communicating with purpose to achieve a specific goal. At the heart of it all, strategic communication helps you invoke specific responses from your target audience, whether that be a spouse, a friend, a love interest, or your boss. And it really helps to get what you want out of a situation as well. Now you might be thinking, is she teaching us manipulation? Well, guys, not really. No. Manipulation, there's usually one person in that relationship that feels completely used. Um, and so with strategic communication, it's a mutually beneficial situation, right? Everybody is happy. So, I've identified the goal. In the professional situation, the goal was to land a partnership with Amazon. In the personal situation, the goal was to find my best friend her boyfriend. The second part of this was understanding your audience. In the professional situation, I researched everything about Amazon that I possibly could to understand what type of partnership they would like to align with. So, communicating the value in the partnership with Amazon looked like helping them to better understand what they get out of a partnership with us. And in the personal situation, communicating the value looked like expressing what their interests would have with one another. Express the need. In both situations, I was able to use the value that they both share to express the need that they both want. By doing this, I'm able to combat resistance, which is commonly felt when people are communicating through challenges. And even today, I was able to use strategic communication while speaking to all of you. Not because I memorized my lines or put together this recording, but because I took you through those same 4 steps sitting right here. Number 1, I identified the goal, which was what, guys? To get you guys to understand what strategic communication is. Number 2, I took the time to understand all of you by asking a few questions that really helped me to know who I was speaking with today. And then step 3, I communicated the value of what strategic communications can do in your personal and professional life. Step 4, I expressed the need for why you need strategic communication. Usually, the reason why people face a lot of resistance in the way they communicate is because they're skipping at least one of these 4 steps. And if you don't identify the goal, you'll be speaking without purpose, right? So that would be skipping a step. Have you ever had those conversations where you realize that it started off one way and then it ended in a completely other direction and you just couldn't figure out how you even got there. I think we've all experienced that. I know I have a time or two. Well, that's because you didn't really identify the goal or the purpose of the conversation. In step 3, I was able to communicate the value and then express the need, right? Why do you need strategic communication? Why is this going to help you in your life? How can you combat that resistance? So, really, at the heart of it all, realize it's not what you say. What you say is just as important as how you say it. So, guys, what you say, how you say it, what you hear, how you hear it, what you do with that information. In other words, speak with intention clearly in an easy to understand way, leaving out anything that isn't relevant to the main purpose of what you're communicating. Listen closely to the response and then decide what to do next based on the interaction. That's basically what you have to take out of this conversation today. So now that we've covered all of the major points of strategic communication, I'd like to hear a few stories from you guys about how you've noticed this disconnect within your company or your personal life, and what some of your plans are to encourage better communication, either within your organization or with your friends. Whatever examples you'd like to give, guys, I would really love to hear them. Thank you all so much for being here and supporting me again. I can't express how much I appreciate all of you out there subscribing, liking, and hitting that notification bell to receive more content just like this. So if you have any suggestions for a future episode, you'd like me to cover a specific challenge you're experiencing within your personal or professional life, please feel free. Leave it in the comments section below. And yeah, I hope all of you have a really great remainder of your week. Also, I do want to send a quick message out there for all of you who are facing this hurricane. I will be keeping all of you in my thoughts and my prayers as we get through this scary season. Please stay safe out there, guys. And until next time, bye for now.